Hey folks, Joffrey Fitzgerald here. You know, sometimes rather than rambling on and on about all the cool things that the Fiddle Jam Institute is, it's simply more efficient to just clarify what it's not. So here's my short list. Number 1. If you're looking to be immersed in bluegrass fiddling, nah. Not to be cold or anything, but there are now numerous bluegrass lesson sites out there on the internet. And honestly, if you want to be totally just into bluegrass, you might be better off with one of those. I already expect and understand that the Fiddle Jam Institute might not be for everyone. That said, though, we still do have many bluegrass-style lessons in our library. They just tend to be used as either a good educational bridge out of the classical violin world for those who are kind of stuck on the page, or just an historically deeper excuse to jam. Jamming is the term we use here to mean improvisation. So yes, if you want to learn how to jam over a bluegrass tune, the Fiddle Jam Institute is definitely the place to be. The way I see it, the new breed of bluegrass player really does need to have improv in their bag of tricks to keep up with today's musical trends. Number 2, if you're looking to be immersed in Irish or Celtic styles, nah, probably not here. There are now many websites out there totally dedicated to this exciting style. That said, the Fiddle Jam Institute, again, does have some Irish and Celtic tunes in our lesson library. But also, again, they're there more for learning how to jam to these styles. Or maybe just to help the classical players crack open the door into the alternative string world, which it can do well. The most cutting-edge Celtic players that I've heard are adding improv to their performances more and more these days. The Fiddle Jam Institute can really help you with that kind of thing. Number 3. By looking at most of my promo and lesson materials, I think it should be fairly obvious that if you only want to learn classical violin music, Fiddle Jam Institute is definitely not the place for you. But not to say that classical music isn't great for learning technique. It's where I started from, for sure. But it's definitely not the only way to learn good technique. So it's probably more out of rebellion against the rigidity of the classical violin world than anything else. I have included many classical tunes in our library. Many of them are from the famous Suzuki violin method that millions of violin students started out with. But don't be surprised if here at the Institute they have a hip-hop beat put to them, or I encourage you to electrify and add distortion and rock out, or do your own thing with them. I personally see no reason whatsoever that the classical tunes shouldn't be every bit as fun as a jam and fiddle tune. You know, I bet Mozart saw his tunes that way too. It's often forgotten that he was a cutting-edge rebel in his day, and there's no reason you can't be as well, if you're so inclined. You might want to check out my crazy Cajun funk rock and roll version of the Beethoven Minuet for some fun. You can just click on the links below to hear that. And you can watch for more classically oriented lessons in the Fiddle Jam Institute library by checking out our Fitzhuki category. Get it? Suzuki, Fitzhuki. I'm trying to have a little fun here. You got to work with me. You'll also find a link to my article called The Perils of the Classical Only Music Education. There's a link down there as well. It encapsulates my rant on this subject. Number 4. There's a few other styles like Indian classical music and the many subcategories of Latin music, except for maybe some simple bossa nova style jazz standards. They're not really very well represented in the library yet either at this point. That said, though, all the know-how and music mechanics you'll ever need to play and jam in these deep styles is covered in our lessons. And they're taught in our usual easy-to-understand fiddle jamming way. Now, there's probably a few more things I could add to this short list of what the Fiddle Jam Institute is not. But rather than also beat this subject to death, I'll just summarize what the Fiddle Jam Institute can do for you one more time. Here we go. You ready? If you are looking to have the simple know-how and confident creative experience to be able to sit in with any band and jam anytime, anywhere with glee, the Fiddle Jam Institute is the place to be. Thanks for checking out my stuff. I'm honored that so many people have told me the Fiddle Jam method has changed their life. I sincerely hope it can for you, too. Now, I think it might actually be a little bit selfish of me, but the secret reason I developed the Fiddle Jam Institute and its materials is really just to help people be more creative. Now, why would that be selfish? Well, it's because then these same people, you in other words, have the possibility in turn to create the solutions to our world's greatest and most pressing problems. It's simply because you guys will become hardwired to be creative all the time and think that way. Fiddle Jam can do this. It can really help. And that, my friends, is the world I want to live in. Want to join me? Join the Fiddle Jam community today. Let's make the world a better place to be, together.